Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Paul Calamere. This is Your City, Your Voice, coming to you live from the studios of 4680Q Radio in downtown Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada, right across from the meteor crater. And as you can see, I have a guest here today.
How you doing?
You don't look like Al McKay.
No, I don't look at it like him at all.
Oh, Al McKay had some unforeseen circumstances and couldn't make it in. But I still want to talk about the region and what's going on, especially with Bob Gale's resigning. And I thought, well, a guy that knows everything about the region is CHRIS Rigas. So
I wouldn't say I know everything. I know a little bit.
Okay, I'll say it. You can just agree.
Okay, there you go.
So we got CHRIS Rigas in the studio, and I guarantee you the show will be just like having Al here, only not Al.
Not Al.
And I got to get Al in here. I wanted to come in. Every time he wants to come in, something comes up and he can't make it. But I guarantee I'll get him in. And we're going to talk about all this anyway. And if Al comes in, we can talk about it. Now, I'm looking outside. It's snowing like crazy, Chris. I just came back from Florida. I don't want to see this crap.
I don't think anybody wants to see it. We had some nice weather last weekend. And, here we are again.
Man. And, they said it was going to snow. I look outside. This is like a blizzard out here. This is crazy.
It's a wonderful December day today.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the good thing is, though, we're on the right side of it. We know it's not going to last. We know it's going to be gone.
Yeah.
And we know we're going to get back to the nice weather that we expect in the summer around here. Unfortunately, we have to put up with this St. Patrick's Day snow that we always get. It always seems to be one that ruins a beautiful March.
Yes.
So, we're going to talk about all the regional stuff, but first I have to get into my sponsors, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop and Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue. And you look outside and you go, oh man, I'm glad I didn't take my snow tires off. Well, don't get all excited about that. We're moving in the summer. We're on the right side of it. So get your car in before the spring rush and get it all checked out by Ken Hunter at Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop. He's going to go through your car, top to bottom, back to front, make sure everything is running good. Get those snow tires off, although today you wouldn't think you'd want them off. But you're going to want them off. And you're going to want to get your car checked out and make sure that it's all running good for summer. Check that coolant, check everything in your car, and make sure it's all right so that you don't break down. You don't want to break down ever. And you're going to have a good summer, happy motoring. Everybody's happy. The car's running great. Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, Oakwood Drive, next to the Kia dealership. Give Ken a call today. WildBillsAuto.ca is the website. And while you're there, go to my YouTube channel, Paul Lemire 4973. You'll be able to subscribe to the channel. Cost you nothing. Subscribe. Hit the notification button. You'll get a ding when I drop another video, usually in the afternoon at 3 o'clock. Around 3 it appears. And thumbs up, thumbs down comments. I love comments. I saw one from my buddy Dave Wheeler, but I'm not going to use it today.
Okay.
I'm going to do it on Monday. Dave had a point. I went the other way with it. He's correcting me, and now I have read a few things, and I think Dave may have been right. But we'll talk about that on Monday. On Monday's show. For now, we're going to get into the show. So, Chris, you're here. You're with me.
I am.
You're with me. This little journey of 56 years looked like it was coming to an end when Bob Gale got appointed chair. We all know the region's version of government is not working. And it's unsustainable the way it stands now. Yet nobody wants to make a change. And I can't believe it. I've heard people complain, even in a referendum we had in the 90s. I don't know if you remember that.
Yep.
And I think 60 or 70% of the people said, get rid of regional government. It sucks. But now nobody wants to make the change. And I just can't fathom this. So where do we start? It started as a great idea. Buy more, buy cheaper, share the savings among 12 municipalities that were involved, centralize essential services for better response and performance. A great idea indeed, but somehow it morphed into an exercise in duplication, waste, and became a tax-eating entity that couldn't be stopped. Regional government's been on the chopping block for 40 years, but it never happened. So, Chris, here we are. Here we are at the precipice of a change for the better. Bob Gale at the helm, and now that's gone. They claim it was because of a book. But personally, I don't believe that for a second. Anyway, I think it's a load of BS. What's your take on all this?
Well, what's my take? So, first of all, regarding Bob in the book and thing, you can get one of those books
on Amazon any day. Order it,
or at the library.
At the library,
yeah. So it's a government institution that has a thing. Okay, it being a signed copy, it's a historical artifact. So somebody dug this up on Bob, or somebody. I'll say dug up. It's not really terrible. I don't understand what the big deal is. It's a private collector's item. But so somebody said dug up this dirt. I'll put that in quotation marks on Bob, and gave it to Saleh I don't know if I'm pronouncing this. Wazirudin, who is on the Niagara Anti-Racism Committee.
And he's a communist.
Not only is he a communist, but he's one of the biggest anti-Semites around.
I agree. Okay. I see his posts on Facebook.
So, and he's had a conniption fit, and they were forwarded to the province, and who knows what happened up there. It's a very sensitive time for this kind of stuff, right now, based on everything that's going on in the world. I don't know the specific details of, who resigned, if somebody asked him to resign or whatever. At the end of the day, probably Bob just decided that he didn't want to be cast as this much of a villain as he's been cast as. And, and you can't blame him, really. He doesn't really have to be doing this. It's not like he needs the money. It's not like he, and let's be honest here. The province will appoint another chair, and nobody's going to like that chair either, because they're not going to be appointing another Jim Bradley,
no.
Right? So they'll appoint another chair. Most likely, amalgamation will go forward.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a great thought.
I doubt. So this was not, just so everybody out there is clear, amalgamation was not the brainchild of Bob Gale.
No.
Okay. It's been on the table for a very long time, and been pushed very hard, long before Bob ever became chair, or long before, and conveniently everybody would like to crucify Bob over amalgamation, but it's not Bob. Bob is just a vehicle for amalgamation to happen. Basically, it's someone else is going to fill that role at some point. And now everybody's after the big city mayors. Well, the big city mayors are doing what's in the best interest of their constituents, and they represent about 65% of the population in Niagara here. So just so everybody's everybody's got clear eyes about what's going on. And to say that everybody is against amalgamation is not the case. They are the loudest complainers, the loudest voices for sure. But there are plenty of people who are for it in a limited capacity. There are plenty of people who are against one Niagara. Absolutely. That's overwhelming probably. But less overwhelming is the prospect of a 4-city region. Okay. Because it actually works. It keeps common interests aligned. And it saves us money. And I don't care what anybody says. Well, amalgamation never saves you money. It absolutely does save money. I don't care. Go ahead and argue with me all you want about it. And the loudest politicians who are opposed to this are the ones who want to protect their fiefdoms, particularly in Fort Erie. Mr. Redicop and Mr. Dubanow, the counselor there, they're very conveniently protecting their little fiefdom. Not only that, Redicop is a NDPer who is interested in protecting the size of the bureaucracy rather than his constituents and the efficiency of operations in the region here. They believe that small municipalities can distribute the services. They cannot. They can't. If that was the case, we should just go back to the 28 municipalities that were before the region. How about that? We'll amalgamate Fort Erie, go back to Bertie Township, Fort Erie, and Ridgeway and Crystal Beach, run them all separately.
Yeah.
So if the argument of amalgamation is that it doesn't save money, let those guys in Fort Erie do that. And then we'll do the same thing in Niagara-on-the-Lake. Let's just separate it all to St. David's, Virgil, Queenston, and Glendale, and Old Town. We'll go back to that. And Niagara Falls itself. Chippewa can have its own council, and we'll see how effective that is in delivering services and maintaining roads and doing all that stuff. If you actually think that that's gonna like that, so if you truly believe it, let's just do that. Because St. David's would be great. I mean, I'd have a louder voice for sure in that little town.
You would,
yeah, for sure. And I'm sure in Old Town there's a few guys there, especially one particular big developer. He'd probably run the whole town there. So, and that's great. So the Old Town can have its own thing. We won't have to worry about them, and Virgil can take care of itself, and that same developer from Niagara-on-the-Lake owns a few properties in Virgil. He'll control that one too.
Yeah.
So, let's be realistic here. Amalgamations happened many times before. Okay, in the history of Niagara, and everybody was opposed to it when it happened. The same way everybody's opposed to it now. In fact, they had in St. Catharines when they amalgamated Port Dalhousie and Meriden into St. Catharines. There were protests. They burned the paper mache dummies of the mayor. They were upset, right? But could you basically say to anybody in Meriden or Port Dalhousie today, go ahead and deliver your own services? You're out of the city of St. Catharines. They wouldn't be able to do it.
No, it'd be impossible. So,
everybody's blaming Bob. Bob was just a vehicle. He's a guy who he likes the region. He loves the region. He lives here. He's been invested here. His family's here. He doesn't have to stay here. Bob can move anywhere he wants. He's not financially disadvantaged. Let's put it that way. Okay, he can go anywhere he wants, and he can do whatever he wants. He doesn't have to put up with this stuff. And I think it just became probably a little bit too much for him. I don't think it was just the book. I think it's the fact that the character assassination that was going on about Bob that probably just drove him over the edge and said, heck, why do I need this? I'm just trying to do something good. Because Bob actually, sometimes he's wrong, and that's fine, and a lot of times he's right, actually cares about doing the right thing for people, So, I don't know. It's disappointing that he had to step down over that. But at the end of the day, someone else is going to be in there, and the push is still going to be there for amalgamation. And I'm hoping that the province will continue down the road. I'm hoping they cancel the regional council elections this year. Well, and that's a strong signal that they're going to move forward.
Well, what got me about it is this Laura Ipps stands up, and she starts yelling about this book. And I'm going, wasn't she the one that wanted to let the Palestinians speak at the city council?
She was one of them, yes. It was her and Haley Bateman.
Yeah, Bateman, yeah.
No, wait. Laura actually voted against that.
Did she? I'm sorry. Well, I wanted to.
But it's not that she's not sympathetic. Just trust me on that.
Okay.
Because she's led just about every other protest out there.
Well, that's what I thought. It might have been her because they'll let these Palestinian protesters and terrorists, whatever you want to call it.
Listen, it's fake outrage.
It is.
It's fake outrage. Okay, we have books by Mao. Maybe she agrees with those books. That's why. Like some of the books that we have in our library, so it's thought, right? It's not popular thought. And as far as that book goes, Mein Kampf, it's one person's view who was a terrible person. We can all agree on that. And Bob, but it was that person was a very significant historical figure, and Bob has a signed copy as a artifact. It's a historical artifact. What he owns. It's not like, and it's written in German, by the way. I don't think Bob can read German. I'm not sure, but
as I say, he probably hasn't even opened the book. It's
yeah,
a collector's.
It's a collector's item. That's why he had it appraised.
Yeah,
that's why he had. That's how they found out about this, is because the appraiser's the one who's, oh well, he had his book. I praised his book.
Signed by Hitler.
He has, well, yeah, he's a Hitler fan. No, he's not. He's not. Bob's not a Nazi. Okay, he's not a Nazi. I mean, I never heard anything negative come out of Bob's mouth like that or anything like that. I mean, and Laura Ip can sit there and proselytize all she wants about this, that, but she's the biggest racist around here. Okay. She's the one who wants to divide people by race. She's the one who wants to have special programs by race. She's the biggest racist around here. Okay?
Yeah. And that's what really got me when I saw her standing up about Mein Kampf and he's got to go and everything. I'm going, get the hell out of here.
Yeah. No, it's fake moral outrage is what that is. Okay. It's fake moral outrage. There are plenty of books out there that call for the destruction of Christianity, the destruction of the Jews, destruction of Muslims. Plenty of other books you could be upset about, but she was upset about this because Bob Gale owned it. Had nothing to do with anything
exactly.
else. She's not burning. She's not going to the library and telling them to get rid of those books.
Well, that's what I said yesterday. Why isn't she writing letters to Amazon and going down to the library?
No, so it's fake moral outrage, and what it is. It's
directed.
It's an attempt at political scalping. That's what I call it. They want their scalps on the wall. That's it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And they got one now.
And we got a whole liberal regional council, basically, except for Bobby's conservative. And this is a guy that they go after for this. If it would have been anybody else, they probably wouldn't have said a word.
I'm pretty sure there's some pretty nasty stuff in some of their closets, and they don't want anybody to know about. And if they ever found out, but it'd be okay for them.
I mean,
you had one counselor calling or saying that it was okay to silence free speech by murdering somebody just in this last fall. This is a counselor on our regional council was saying that's what the guy wanted. The guy who got assassinated. That's what he wanted. We waited his whole life for it. Okay. This is what a counselor said because of his political views. Okay. Which were not bad, by the way. He believed in free speech and everybody he gave platforms to people to speak. And he didn't even have to agree with them. He made counterpoints to their arguments.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, that was Charlie Kirk.
That was Charlie Kirk
and it was Haley Bateman.
And did Laura Ip vote to retract her pay? Okay, for 90 days. No, they didn't. They censured her. Okay, they gave her whatever it was for but they didn't take her pay away for 90 days to give her, not even take her pay away. But she's out there calling for the resignation of Bob Gale because he owns a historical artifact. Never espoused any kind of political violence or racism that I've ever heard at council, in public, or anywhere I've ever seen. I've known Bob for many years. Okay. Never heard him say anything like that. So, he's just a collector of historical artifacts. And this was a historical artifact. So plain and simple.
And I agree 100%.
So, the hypocrisy of the left, they're always pointing the finger at everybody else until it gets turned around on them. And that's fine. One day it might again, who knows? Maybe next time it'll be Laura. Maybe something in her personal life's going to come out. Who knows?
Who knows if she's still even around?
Yeah. Well, she wants to keep that counselor, right? She wants to keep that regional council going. It's a nice paycheck for her because she doesn't have any other job, I don't believe. It's $40,000 a year plus full benefits, phones, and iPads and travel expenses and the whole 9 yards. Okay, so she just wants to keep that going.
So I found a really nice little chart here, right? And I wanted to just share that with everybody. When we talk about regional government and how many politicians we have, I just want to compare it with other regional governments and see where Niagara stands as far as our regional Niagara government. So PO region, 1.63 million people, 53 elected officials, 1 per 30,755. York region, 1.28 million people, 67 elected, 1 per 20,687. Durham, 753,000 people, 67 elected, 1 per 11,239. Waterloo, 711,450 people, 78 elected, 1 per 9,121. Halton, 666,650 people, 24 elected officials, 1 per 27,771. Niagara, listen closely, 544,000 people, 146 elected officials, 1 per 3,726. Does that say it all or what?
Well, it says a lot. It says a lot. But again, politicians is not the major money where you're going to save it. I mean, you're going to save money on politicians, don't get me wrong. But they all want to protect their little power, whatever little power they have. They love, the power they have. And a lot of them don't have any other job. They just, that's their paycheck, right? So they rely on it. But we have 144, whatever it was 146 total. I thought it was I thought it was 120 something.
I said 126, but this number said 146. I don't know if there's somewhere I was missing. I don't know.
Either way, the good ratio for local governance is 1 to 20,000 people.
There you go.
Okay. And at this point, because of the way technology works, it's not. So when you needed the lower ratios was when, you had to pick up a phone and you had to call the guy and he had to come up to your house and see what the problem was. Well, now we can take pictures. We can send them over the internet. We got emails. We got all this other stuff so a guy can deal with multiple constituents in a day that prior he couldn't. They had to have a 1 to 10,000 or 1 to 8,000 because, based on complaints and things like that or concerns, you would be able. But now you can talk to multiple people in a day very easily, very quickly. So, and you can deal with concerns a lot quicker. So you don't need that ratio down to 1 to 6,000, 1 to 10,000. A good ratio is 1 to 20,000 people. And for this particular region, what you want is, so if you've got, if you have to go to the province or to the feds for money for something, it's good to speak with a unified voice. So that's why the 4 city model works the best. And because you take areas of common concern, so you've got, let's say, the river cities, which is Niagara-on-the-Lake, Niagara Falls, and Fort Erie. So if you've got issues in that, they share a common concern. They share the Niagara River, they share the border, they share the QEW, they share Niagara Parks, they share interests like tourism and some agriculture. So you can speak to the province. You can call up the province as a mayor of that area, and you can say, "Hey, listen, we need some funding for XYZ." Okay, and you can speak with one voice, with a common interest thing. And why the one city doesn't work at this point is because Niagara, let's say, okay, so you've got now an issue on a regional road or a thing in Grimsby, let's say, or Smithville, okay, or you're dealing with some let's say chicken farm regulations, okay, and then because there's a ton of chicken farms out in Smithville, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So and then you got an issue here in Niagara with the Parks Commission, and then you want funding for whatever. And then you got an issue in Port Colborne who needs funding on a provincial matter in that area. So now you've got one city. It's going to go to the province 3 times or 4 times for money. And the province doesn't give out money like that, right? They're going to say, well, we just gave you guys like 8 million in funding for this, or
for the chicken farm,
or 50 million in funding for that, or we subsidized that, or you need a wastewater treatment, you need $150 million over there, but then you're going to need another one. You're going to go back to them and ask again over there. Like, so it doesn't work. in that sense, because you're the constant beggar, right? It's the same guy on the phone with the other guy, and he's like, well, I just helped you out the other day. I got all these other regions around. But if you go separately with common interest, so Niagara Falls calls the premier and says, hey, you know what, we need that South Niagara water treatment plant, we need 150 million. And the mayor says, and we need it because we're gonna have increased tourism, we got all this development going on, blah blah blah. And the premier says, yeah, that makes sense. I can give you guys that. And then the guys in Port Colborne, Welland, and Thorold call them up and say, hey, we need some help here with reinforced highways, because we're going to have a lot of heavy trucks, because we got all these factories going to be opening up here. So we need $100 million to get that done. Well, the province can say, well, we want to help industrial stuff, right? So we give you the 100 million, right, for this one particular city. And the guys out in the farmers out in the thing and say, hey, look, we need some greenbelt protections. We need some grant things for our farms. Make sure family farms can stick around. We need, we need whatever it is. We need an agricultural grant of $50 million to strengthen our ag business, right? And the government's going to say, yeah, okay, no, it makes sense to do that, right? We'll give you $50 million, and then so that takes care of 100,000 people over there. They say so, and then you get all this funding. Now you managed to get 300 million in funding without having to go to the 300 and say, I need 300 million bucks. Well, what do you need $300 million for? Well, this, and this. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll give you one out of the three. That's the way the province works, right? But if you can go separately and you can prove your case in a larger common interest kind of situation, then you've got the ability to think. And on the really big issues, like for, let's say, okay, we need a new Garden City Skyway, which we don't even need. I don't know why they're going to do that, but we need whatever it is, or a Mid-Peninsula corridor on the big one. Then you all four can get together and say, hey, we need this, or if it's a big policing matter, or, hey, we need a couple of helicopters because we've got a lot of stolen vehicles and we need to track them on the thing, so then they can fund the regional police, which are all, by the way, still funding anyway, right? So those sort of things, you can go to you can get together on those shared services, or housing, like regional housing, because that can't be administered effectively by the four cities. You still need to have a common board, so you can do it together. But you can go to the province and say, hey, listen, we need some funding for our regional housing, for our old folks' homes and our low income housing and that stuff. And the province can deal with that on a 4-city basis, right? But I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to continue. And it surely doesn't make sense to get rid of the region and then go down to 12 municipalities and have 12 CAOs and 12 economic development departments and 12 mayors and 12 this and 12 that. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter whose name is on the snowplow, as long as the roads are plowed. Okay,
right?
It doesn't matter.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
So everybody who's crying, complaining about they losing this, what they're losing is their power. That's what they're crying about. They have power and influence over small-time government, and they want to keep that. That's who's the loudest complainers about this. End of story. That's it.
Well, what's funny is that there's a story in the review about Niagara and the Lake. They're going to review their governance model, and they may cut out councillors for the next election. They're not going to have as many councillors, and kind of a preemptive strike on Ford, showing him that yes, we are ready to cut and
Great.
And do better for the taxpayers.
Sure.
So what's
Councillor in Niagara on the Lake makes $20,000 a year plus benefit.
So they're going to cut out
$40,000. They're going to cut out. No, they're going to cut out two guys.
40 grand,
and they're going to cut out 40 grand a year. Okay. So, what difference is that going to make? Like, honestly, what difference is that going to make?
None.
Not even a little bit.
No.
Okay. I'd rather they just kept the 8 councillors. I'd rather have better access if that's the case. Let me just let me just call up this guy because he lives around the corner. Then just have the I make sure he gets to me. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. It's none. You're not saving. There's no. And not only that, but I can influence him. He's my buddy. He's going to do me favors. So it doesn't make any sense. What we're trying to do, the province, anyways, is go to 4 cities, eliminate some of that phony baloney stuff. Okay, where everybody's got their little fiefdoms, everybody's got their arguments. They have encampments, and in a town like, let's say, Niagara Lake or Fort Erie or whatever, so they have little encampments of the protest vote. Right, they have 100 people over here, they have 400 people over here, they have 300 people over here. They're against this, they're against that thing, and each of them has their own little counselor to go against whatever they want. Like, it doesn't make or before whatever they want. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
No.
So, and that's how they maintain their power and control.
Yeah, I think the idea of 4 cities, Niagara Lake, Niagara Falls, Fort Erie, works because you have 8 counselors between that whole bunch of people, the 150,000 or whatever it turns out to be, and you have 1 economic developer, you have 1 planner,
1 CAO,
1 CAO, 1 mayor, 8 counselors for everything. So you're eliminating the duplication, and that's the big problem with the region. That's where you save your money, by getting rid of that duplication. And with the 4 cities, you get rid of the region, except for boards. Everything would be run by boards. The police board runs it right now, and they would have whatever other boards, the transit board, the Niagara Health System board.
Well, Niagara Health System is not, the Niagara Regional Health. The Niagara Health System is separate. That's provincial. That's with the LIN.
Yeah. Oh, okay. What about the regional health?
Yeah. Regional health would have to be run by a board. Yes.
Would be run by a board. So everything that is shared between these 4 cities, even though you don't have the region, would be run by a board, and all 4 cities would be, be 4 cities when they amalgamate, would be responsible to deal with that board and to, I guess, fund everything that the boards decide they need.
Yeah, so you would contribute based on your population, right? And so the board has a budget, right? And that board has also citizen reps on it, as well as representatives from each municipality, elected representatives from each municipality, as far as 1 counselor sits on the board or whatever, and that board can decide whether they approve that budget or not. If there's an increase request, it can go in. How much of a property tax is it going to result in Niagara? How much of a property tax is it going to result in increase in Fort Erie? Or not in Fort Erie, sorry, in Port Colborne or Welland or whatever the name of that city ends up. How much of a property tax? And then they can say, okay, well, we're going to request that funding, that extra funding, right? And then it's up to the cities to fund it, right? To approve it or not. So in the thing, they can send it back too, right? There's I mean, the logistics of everything has to be worked out. It takes some time to get all that done. But listen, at the end of the day, it's not a bottomless pit. Money needs to be controlled. Right now, what's happening is we just funnel everything up, and then it sort of trickles down. Now, those people who say trickle down economics doesn't work. Well, there you go.
This trickles up. Now, when we looked at mayors like Jim Diodati and Cisco, who like these 4 city models, and they really want to make changes, are they being a little bit? I know I'm going to get elected, and I'm going to bring all my boys with me, so I'm going to be the guy who runs it. So I'm for it. Whereas some of these other smaller ones aren't for it. Do they think they're going to be the guys running it? That's why they're so gung ho about it? Or?
No. So look, the mayor who's most at risk in this is Jim Diodati.
Why do you say that?
Because Niagara on the Lake has a view of him. A lot of the people there have a view of him, and it's not as favorable as maybe Niagara Falls is of Jim. And the same goes in Fort Erie to a certain extent. But his job would be the most at risk in a wider election. That's my opinion out of the big city mayors. Okay, Cisco's pretty safe, I think, because St. Catharines wouldn't be really affected. I mean, actually, this would be such a benefit to St. Catharines in the sense that they get to keep their regional tax uh, payments to the region. They get to keep it in house and decide how to use it, and probably reduce their debt. They have a massive debt. We actually have a pretty big debt too, but ours is a little bit easier to deal with just based on our economics versus St. Catharines, because we actually contribute more tax dollars to the region than St. Catharines does, and we're 2/3 the population, right? So, but so, and then Campion, he may have some issues, but not. So it's not about really keeping their jobs. The only one who's really safe there out of the Easton's pretty safe out in Lincoln, also, I believe. I believe she would be anyway. So,
and Cisco would be
pretty safe, I think,
yeah,
too. So but the two at most risk are the biggest advocates of this, right? Like, and it's not because it's selfish. It's not selfish of them. It's actual. They understand that the economics of this would benefit the taxpayer. It would benefit their areas. They could focus more on running the areas of common interest rather than worrying half the time about what the region's doing. And so that's it. It's just it's efficiency and it's focus, right? Like, you are focused and efficient as opposed to having the region. And I know, like I said, everybody wants to say 12 cities, 12 go down to get rid of the region and just do the 12 cities. You can't do that. You can't do it as it exists. You can't. It's too many different. It's like a spider that has 8 legs and they're all pulling in different directions.
Well, the one good thing about getting rid of the region and going to the 4-city model is you get to retain the money you would have submitted to the region, and you can put it out there the way you want. And I think that's what Jason Burgess was talking about. We can plow our own roads easier than having to call the region in to do it. Right?
Yeah, that's fine. The region does actually a pretty good job. So maybe the region should the Niagara Falls should hire some of those guys over here, because, I will say that Niagara Falls does not a very good job of plowing the roads. And that's not a knock on Burgess or whatever. Not any year. I'll be honest with you. Like so I drive down regional roads every day and I drive down city roads every day just because of the way I come out of my house and I go to work every day. So whenever there's a major snowstorm, the regional roads are clear and ours are disasters. Okay? So I would just like to say on that one point that if that happens, I would hope that the city of Niagara Falls gets up to speed with the region's way of plowing roads and not theirs. Now, the region does farm out some of their plowing to private contractors. Steven Evans does it. I see their trucks around a lot. They also have their own. I would think that Niagara Falls should do the same, if that ever comes down to it. And I don't know, to be honest with you, I don't know how well Niagara on the Lake plows their roads, because I'm not in any of the small neighborhoods usually. I'm just down the major roads that the region takes care of.
Right.
But I do see Niagara on the Lake plow trucks go down there. So
before Bob Gale left, he submitted a proposal that had councilors with weighted votes depending on this and that. I want to talk about that in a minute and see what your thoughts are on that. But first, I got to get to my second sponsor, Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue. Now, whenever you're going to get a good pizza, you want consistency. You want to know they're building that pizza the same every time they build it. How do you get that? By using tried and true recipes for the sauce, for the crust. Then you start adding your cheeses and you start putting them in the right ratio with the sauce on the pizza. And if you can get it done right like that, you've got a consistent product that is always good. Pete's Pizza's been using the Mancini family recipe for years. They've been around 41 years, the Mancini family, making pizzas. Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue uses those recipes. That's why their pizzas are always good. But they're not one-trick pony. Chicken wings, fantastic. panzerotti, steak and cheese poutine, steak sandwiches, chicken parm sandwiches, whatever they have on that menu is just fantastic. Believe me, I've tried them all, and they're pretty darn good. They are on Victoria Avenue. They've opened a new store on Thurlstone and Kaler for the northwest part of the city. Now you can get their great pizza out in that end of town. Excuse me. I get in the studio and I always get dry. I don't know why. It's something about it. But regardless, all you have to do is pick up the phone, 905-374-2222, open till 2 a.m. Friday and Saturday, midnight during the week. Hey, you can't beat a pizza from Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue. They use all the delivery services, Skip, Dine, Dash, Jump, whatever they're called. You can't go wrong. Pete's Pizza Victoria Avenue. Pete'sPizzaVictoria.ca is their website. Go there. You can order pizza off their website. Get it delivered. Fantastic. It's Friday. Friday is pizza day. So go get a pizza. Order one now. Support our businesses. Support our small businesses in town. They deserve your support. They're good corporate citizens, like the old Fire Hall restaurant, which Chris owns.
Yes.
You got to go down there and try Chris's place. He makes fantastic stuff down there, too.
Yes, I do.
You got a full menu.
Yep. Yeah, we got something for everybody, for sure.
Yeah, they got burgers, firehouse steaks, the fireman's steak.
Yeah, we got that. We've got some pastas. We got some big steaks. We got some.
Oh, yeah, their pastas are fantastic, too. Well, I'm giving a plug. I got to give a plug to Chris's restaurant.
Well, you have to.
Because it is really, really good. Is Robert George your best customer?
No, he's not my best customer. He does come around every once.
Yeah, we love Robert George. We love Robert George. Hi, Robert. How you doing? I have to mention him when you're in here.
I wonder if he's listening today. I don't know.
Is he still mad at you?
I think he was thinking about running for regional chair himself, actually.
No.
Yeah. He wants to lobby the province to get him elected. As regional chair.
That's got to be a pay-per-view.
I would. He would be fantastic if you ask me.
I would love to see him sitting in that chair dealing with these counselors.
Well, it'd be fantastic. Yes.
I think he'd probably get charged with assault or something.
No, well, verbal assault maybe. He's not a violent man. He's just very outspoken.
Oh yeah, he would be. I would watch counsel if he was sitting there. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah,
I would not.
It'd be entertainment for sure.
It would be. I think he might be able to run pay-per-views. Okay, so Gale wanted weighted votes on council. And I was watching, I read through how he was proposing to do it. Now, this isn't the one city model or the four city. It's having a regional council with less councilors, but weighting the vote to the cities that have more residents. And to me, it's almost like a federal situation where you'd have St. Catharines and Niagara Falls making most of the decisions. They need like 2 votes on their side to pass anything. Much like Ontario and Quebec control Canada. Am I wrong in that?
Well, actually, no. None of it controls Canada right now.
Well, no, that's it.
You know.
Yeah, we don't have any control.
None of it does.
We're in limbo.
No, she just crossed the floor for $6.5 billion in funding for Nunavut for 40,000 people.
Did you see
she got $6.5 billion in funding for Nunavut.
If you crossed the floor.
She crossed the floor. They gave it to her, and she crossed the floor.
Yeah.
Okay, for 40,000 people, they got $6.5 billion in funding. Just so the public's aware out there. PEI has 4 MPs, I believe. 4. And they're 150,000 people. Okay, just so you know. The vote means more in Nunavut. They have 40,000 people. They have 1 MP.
Yeah, it means more there.
100%. Your vote is weighted there. Anyways, so with respect to this weighted vote proposal, I had this kind of argument last week with somebody, and they're like, well, if we got rid of the councils and we went to weighted votes, and that would diminish our say. We wouldn't have our say on the because let me just explain this weighted voting idea. The idea is you get rid of the regional councils, you go down to the 12 mayors in a transition period. This is not a permanent move. This is a transition period. You don't want 12 mayors sitting there and debating for and arguing with each other over funding. That'd be an absolute disaster. So the idea behind the weighted voting is that per population, whatever, in a transition period, in order to make the necessary moves for amalgamation. And you wouldn't want an equal vote because you don't want petty bickering to stop what is basically the amalgamation of the big four cities, which would be Lincoln, Welland, St. Catharines, and Niagara Falls. So you wouldn't want the smaller municipalities to try to hold stuff up with stupid votes and all this other stuff. And the argument was that, we would lose our voice in that situation. Well, and my retort was, what do we have right now at the region? Is it not weighted voting?
The bigger cities have more
councillors.
More councillors, right?
So what's the difference? St. Catharines has 7 councillors.
We have 3.
Right? They have six elected plus the mayor. We have 3 plus the mayor. Niagara Lake has 1 plus the mayor. Fort Erie has, I believe, 1 plus the mayor. Right? Welland has 2 plus the mayor. So you already have a weighted situation at the region.
Good point.
You weight it. So in my opinion, it should be weighted according to dollars paid. That way Niagara Falls would be right on par with St. Catharines.
Yeah, we'd be right up there.
But right now, Niagara Falls, in relation to everybody else in the region, is underrepresented at the regional level. Whether you take population into account, councillors per population, whether you take... So at the very least, Niagara Falls should be getting, at least if regional council will stay the same, Niagara Falls should be getting another councillor. At least 1 more. So we should have 4 plus the mayor instead of 3. Because St. Catharines has 6 plus the mayor. They're 150,000 people. We're 100,000 people, and we've got 3. You know? So anyways, look, that the argument about the up in arms about the weightedness is it's silliness. It's more silliness is what it is. It's more silly. It's just another argument that it's the NIMBY crowd, basically, right? Like it's the NIMBY crowd and a few councillors and mayors who don't want to give up their power. Basically, what it comes down to.
There you go.
Like I said, for those of you criticizing Jim, he wants to be the mayor of everything and all this other stuff. It's not necessarily true. I think that Jim would get a good race if Redicop decided to run right across the region, right across Niagara. I think that he'd probably give Jim a good go. Jim is a great mayor for Niagara Falls. Not that he wouldn't have votes in those 2 areas, but just the nature of Niagara Falls and the NDP contingent here, plus Niagara on the Lake, which has gone a little bit left, and Fort Erie, where he's been a mayor forever. Jim would be in tough on that in a race like that, you know. It's just a the arguments are emotional from the people who are against this. They're not factual. They're emotional, and they focus on character assassinations rather than facts and policy. And that's what bothers me about the people who are opposed, because they can't come up with any real rational reason why, other than the emotional.
Well, just to the fact that they've been talking about getting rid of it for so long. You talk to people, they hate the region. We know it doesn't work. It never worked. It isn't going to work tomorrow. It's not working today. So they say, we need all these studies and all that. And I'm going, we've been doing them for 56 years. There's been studies, and it's not working. What more do you need? How bad could a change really be? Could it be any worse than what we have today? With the inefficiencies?
No, you cannot make it any worse.
You can't make it any worse.
You can't.
What do we get? A 33% tax increase over the last 4 years.
The only way, you can make it worse. The only way you can make it worse is by going one city. That's the only way you make this situation worse.
Well, that's just like having what we got now.
No, it's the region, except eliminating all local interests and representation.
Yeah.
you would, that would be an absolute disaster for Niagara. That's the only way you can make this worse. But any other model is not worse. The issue is that people need to start focusing on facts. They need to start focusing on efficiencies. They need to start focusing and stop focusing on protecting their jobs and their interests.
Well, having said that, now I'm going to ask you a question. Should councillors even get a vote on amalgamation because it affects their job one way or the other, and that's a conflict of interest?
So no, I look, if I was the premier of this province right now, I would just do it. I would just do it.
Right, exactly.
They never asked us before. They actually did in St. Catharines, in Maryland, and it was overwhelmingly against. They were like 80% against, like from Port Dalhousie and Meriden, when they went into St. Catharines. It was overwhelmingly against, and the province still did it anyways. Okay, so if I'm the province, I would just do it because it's their right. To be honest with you, this isn't a municipal. This isn't a municipal issue. It's a provincial issue. And the province decides this according to the law. That's just the way it goes. There's no protest vote. There's no court challenge. There's no the province, as the law exists, has the right to do it, and they should do it when they feel it's necessary. The arguments have been made to them. Any reasonable person can see the arguments laid out. I can lay them out. If any of these guys at the province, Minister Flack or Doug or anybody else wants to sit down with me, and I'll write it down for them. No problem. I'll just write it on a wall for them, and they can look at it. I can give them 1,000 positives why you should do this, and maybe 1 or 2 negatives why you should go to 4 cities. And I can lay out the one city and 1,000 negatives plus the 1 positive for the one city.
What positive?
The only positive is that if you're speaking,
I want to hear this.
If you're speaking as a region, like if you're a mayor of what would be a city now of almost 600,000 people, you got a bigger voice at the Fed level but that's not necessarily the case either, because it doesn't give you that much of an advantage. Because like I said, we explained that earlier. Like if you're asking for 300 million over here, 200 million over here, 150 million over here, or 50 million over here, they get tired of talking to you. So that's the only argument that you can make, really, is that if you're speaking to, like, let's say, also, like, let's say an Amazon wants to move in the area, you can make the decisions quite quickly. But you can do that in the 4 cities, because Amazon will not build a warehouse that stretches right across 4 cities. It will be in one of those cities, right?
Cities.
So that's the argument for the one city. Other than that, there is no argument for one city. One city does not serve anybody's interest, not even a bit. So what you can accomplish with one city can be accomplished by 4 cities. Plus, the advantages of 4 cities are exponentially greater overall.
So now that Bob's gone, and everything's kind of right now sitting in limbo, nobody knows really what's going on. Where do we go from here? Do you think Ford's going to take over and bring an amalgamation before the election, October 26th, before May 1st nomination, when nominations open for councils? Or is it going to go on the shelf again until 2030? Where do you think we're headed?
I don't know. I certainly hope it doesn't go on the shelf again. I can't take this anymore. Like, it's like, I don't know how to put it. Like
4 more years of Biden.
He's like postponing the wedding kind of deal. Like, I mean, you might as well just break up at that point. Like, you just, stop postponing the wedding. The point is that, if they're gonna, what I would like to see. I'll just say what I would like to see. I would like to see them cancel the regional councillor elections before May 1st. That would send a signal that they're serious about moving forward.
So move them to maybe July 1st or something like that?
No, just cancel them.
Cancel them completely.
Cancel the regional councillor elections.
So no regional councillors?
No regional councillors. None. Right? Have a chair and the 12 mayors, and then, and and proceed with the idea that you're moving towards amalgamation within the next 2 years. So that's what I would like to see. Because we can't look, if the option for me is, and I'm not saying that I want amalgamation, or I wouldn't be okay if we stayed as 12 municipalities and got rid of the region. But I can't see how that's beneficial. If you get rid of my goal is to get rid of that layer of government, and that layer of government is it's such a burden on this area here, and the taxpayers in the area. So you get rid of the region, I would be happy, but you have to get, it's just time. It's not working for us anymore. It's overdue, actually, because we've grown. Like, when the concept of the region came in, I mean, we were small. Niagara Lake was 10,000 people, 9,500 people.
We were
60,000,
maybe
60,000, 55, something like that.
In 1970?
1970,
we might have been 50.
We might have been 50,000.
Niagara Falls.
Fort Erie was like 25,000.
Yeah.
Welland was 35. St. Catharines was 110,000 or 100,000 people back then, So we've grown into a situation where you've got basically communities, especially along the canal. Like, if you look at the Welland and Thorold, like, one stops and the other one's right there. Like, it's there, and same with Port Colborne. It's moving that way, and Welland's moving south, right? So, and then same with Niagara. Like, the hospital now is going into Lions Creek Road, and you got all this development going on down there, and it's going that way, and Fort Erie's coming this way, and it's like, Stevensville's growing, and and Niagara Lake moving north, right? We already have shared services with Niagara Falls. Like, St. David's has shared sewer with Niagara Falls, right? So, like, St. David's pumps up to the Stanley Avenue. Okay. So, and we're there. Like, I live in Niagara Falls. I take a left out of my street and I roll down the hill and I'm in Niagara Lake. It was like 400 meters, so 500 meters, half a kilometer before I'm in Niagara Lake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
we are merging. Everything's all squeezing together now anyway, right?
So, it's not like we don't have this already interconnectivity. We do. It's already there. So like I said, I don't understand why people are so worried about what the name says on the snowplow. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It's about the road getting plowed.
The road getting plowed.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I hope. I can only hope. I don't know what the province is going to do. I hope they don't put us off again. I think they just need to move forward. Just bite the bullet and move forward on this. Let the people who are going to be upset and be done with it. Like, you're not going to, if you try to please everybody, you end up pleasing nobody.
Well, I think that's what Jason Burgess said. You get into paralysis by analysis, and nothing gets done. And we know something has to be done. So, let's get on with it. That's my thing. Let's get on with it. Let's do it. And tweak it as we go.
I don't see any issue with doing it. I honestly, I don't. You can make all the arguments you want, but if you really sit down, if you're honest, if you're an honest arbiter of the information presented to you, and you get rid of the emotional connections to what says on your driver's license, or like I said, on the side of the snowplow or whatever, it's very hard to make an argument against amalgamation into 4 cities. It's very hard. That's why Al McKay, I'm probably listening, kind of agreed with me then afterwards about 4 cities.
Right.
Because he was a 1 city guy, and then he heard me talk about why 1 city's bad and 4 cities are good, what the representations are, and the efficiencies, and what would be the inefficiencies. And it's very hard when you look at the facts rationally, calmly, and look at them, and to say that it's a bad move. Jim laid it out with respect to competitiveness within the province. We are very uncompetitive here at attracting new investment because of our tax situation and our development charges and all that other stuff. You know, so there are many arguments for it. And I understand the emotional argument of oh well, our town of Niagara Lake's going to be gone. Well, it's not gone. It's still there. Like Chippewa's still there.
Yeah, you go to Chippewa and ask people where they're from. They're not going to say Niagara Falls.
No, Chippewa. I'm from Chippewa.
Yeah, I'm from Chippewa. I mean, you don't lose your identity.
No, it's not that. It's basically you got the corporation of the town of Niagara Lake, you got the corporation of Niagara Falls, you got the corporation of Fort Erie. It becomes one corporate. It's a corporate structure, basically. It's not. It has nothing to do with your identity of where you come from. I mean, people say, if you say, well, where in Niagara Lake are you from? And it's like St. David's, Virgil,
right.
Old Town,
yeah,
right, Queenston. Well, where do you live? Queenston,
yeah,
right. Okay, so where do you live? St. David's. Oh, where's that? It's Niagara Lake. Oh, okay. Yeah. My postal address, because St. David's had its own postal code back in the day. My postal address is L0S1P0, since it says St. David. So when I have to fill out where my address is, I have to go St. David's, Niagara Lake. Right? That's the way it is. So,
So let's get on with it. And on that note, I'm getting out of here. We got to get out of here. But thank you for coming in, Chris.
No problem.
For Al, we will get Al in here. And I'd love to get Al in here talking about what he thinks about all this, because although we're all kind of on the same page here, there's different perspectives on everything. Everybody's got their own perspective, although our end goal is the same, to get rid of the region. And let's get on with some kind of a new format that works, because we know the old one doesn't, and it's time for a change. It really, really is. And I don't think anybody will argue with that.
I don't understand the arguments, honestly. If you want, I'm willing to talk about it one day. Give me a Facebook message, and you want to talk about it, I'll talk to you about it. No problem.
Yeah, anybody can Facebook Chris, and he'll tell you about it. He knows about it like anybody else. But I think if people are against it, it's in self-preservation mode. They're trying to preserve what they have. They don't want to lose it. But as far as the regular taxpayer goes, we're not losing anything, except we may lose a 33% increase in the next 4 years.
Yeah.
Like we had in the last 4 years.
Well, I think that's part of the deal, though, is I think the province, when they do this, if they do this, they need to step in and say, okay, we're going to do this, but there's a property tax freeze for the next 10 years. You cannot raise property taxes for 10 years.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. My name is Paul Kalemir. This is Your City, Your Voice, coming to you live from the studios of 4680Q, downtown Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. Thank you, Chris, for coming in. It's been a great experience. And I always watch these guys. There's guys wandering around. They come in here. Who knows, off the street. I'll be back on Monday. Have a great weekend. Enjoy this weather, everybody. Have a great weekend. I will see you Monday. And don't forget our sponsors, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, Pizza on Victoria Avenue, and support Chris, Old Fire Hall Restaurant in St. David's / Niagara Lake.
Yes.
We'll see you Monday. Have a great day. God bless you all. And let's hope this snow is gone by the time I get back in here on Monday. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. See you later. Ciao.